Hello YouTube, Gaming Goddess here doing another review. This game was developed and published by Konami in 2001 for the PlayStation 2. It is also closely associated with Hideo Kojima. If you guessed Zone of the Enders, then you are correct. So let's get into it. Just like in most games, you can pick your level of difficulty. This game has easy, normal, hard, and very hard. As soon as you start the game, you are drawn in by a pretty long but amazing cutscene. Here you can see how smooth the animation is, which is always a plus for me when it comes to video games. We are introduced to a few characters, but that'll have to wait for now. First, I want to talk about the gameplay. Zone of the Enders is an action shooter game with very little RPG aspects to it. Actually, the only thing that is remotely close to it being an RPG is the fact that you can gain experience points and level up during battle. This style is not my cup of tea personally. Now, some negatives about this game is when you get into battles, you are automatically locked onto the enemy, but this affects the camera angles, which I did not like at all. I'd had to unlock from the enemy just to turn the camera around. As for the general movement, when you're in an area, it's really smooth and I didn't have too much trouble with the camera. It's a lot easier to control when you're just moving around on the map than when you're fighting. As for moving around on the main map, it was really slow, but you can use your burst to move faster. There's a variety of items, programs, weapons, and ammo for the weapons that can be found in the different areas. Depending on your mission, you are required to obtain a specific weapon or program to accomplish the mission. Looking for these objects might require you to go back to a place that you've already visited. That's pretty much it for the gameplay. Now moving on to the characters. Here we see our main protagonist running away. My first impression of Leo was that he's a wimp and a crybaby. Well, actually, we learn more about him as the game progresses. That changed my personal opinion on his character. He's a troublesome child who has a hard time making friends, and his parents don't want anything to do with him. So watching Leo grow was actually something I enjoyed. So the reason Leo is our protagonist is because he accidentally ended up in the orbital frame Jehudi, and is forced against his will to pilot the Jehudi back to Jupiter. While inside of Jehudi, he is greeted by a program called Ada, who more or less guides you through the different missions throughout the game. Next we have Selvice, Leo's only friend, I'm guessing. Selvice is a voice of encouragement towards Leo throughout the game, risking his main mission to rescue civilians that are in danger. With the interaction that we see Leo having with her, we can tell that she takes care of children at a church, so we can automatically assume that her personality is kind and caring. The final character I'm going to talk about is Viola. She pilots an orbital frame just like Leo. She is a boss, well, one of the bosses that will reoccur a few times throughout the game. I personally think she's one of the cooler villains in this game as well. She's pretty blunt and isn't afraid to kill anyone that gets in her way. This game is actually kind of discreet on her backstory up until around the end. That's when we learn a whole lot more about why she does what's necessary to achieve her mission. Overall, she's a pretty cool villain. Now some pros and cons about the game. First off, the pros. The game is really short, so for those who are mostly into stories in their video games, this would be really good for you. It has smooth animations and the graphics are really good for its time, especially since it's a PlayStation 2 game. The final pro would be that you can pick your level of difficulty of the game. Cons in this game is it takes a while for them to explain some of the characters' backstories and of course the camera angles when fighting. And now for my final thoughts. The only real negative thing I have to say about this game itself is that it is an action shooter and that's not really something I play on an everyday basis, so it took me some time getting used to. Overall, this game has a pretty cool soundtrack. It's real short. Honestly, I beat it in like less than 10 hours. The story kept me interested, which made me want to beat the game even more. So, all in all, my personal rating of it would be 7.5 out of 10. This has been a Gaming Goddess review, and remember to keep on gaming.